Man, what an honor to be here. While you're clapping, give it up for your amazing senior pastor, Pastor John. Come on now, let's do a little bit better than that. Let's show some honor here in the house today. I love that. Love these guys, him and Stephanie. So grateful for them. And he's got the coolest initials ever, JVP. We were in like a meeting earlier and they were like, and then JVP, the staff call him JVP. I'm like, that's pretty cool. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like EI. You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty boring. It's like JVP, EI, you know? And, but Pastor John, thank you so much for your leadership here in San Antonio, your partnership with Convoy. And can I just share a couple of things that you guys as a church, what you're helping make happen? Convoy is an organization we've grown. We're 30 years. We just celebrated our 30-year anniversary. Convoy has grown exponentially, especially over the last 7 or 8 years. When you hear about disasters that take place around the world, not just here in the U.S., whether it's a hurricane, whether tornadoes, floods, wildfires, wars in Ukraine, wars in the Middle East, earthquakes in Myanmar, when you hear about those things, Convoy is typically the first to get there and the last to leave. They're connecting with people in the darkest moments of their life. And a lot of people know Convoy. And matter of fact, even the hurricanes that just killed 4 people in St. Louis in the last 36 hours, within hours, Convoy was there distributing and helping that community. And a lot of people know Convoy for the disaster part, but we're also a global network and a global compassion organization. And just some of the things that have happened because of churches like Gateway Fellowship. This past year in 2024, we fed 639,000 kids every single day. That happened in 41 different countries, 639,000 kids every day. We empowered 61,000 women, helping them break the poverty in their community. Many women that have been abandoned, marginalized, husbands have left. We've gone in and we've helped empower them in their communities. And then we've trained 39,000 farmers just last year alone in 2024. And when I talk about training farmers, it's helping them in their community learn. We actually study soil types, and we have acreage in Springfield, Missouri, where we duplicate a lot of the soil types that are in other countries where we can go in and train and say, these are the best crops for you to grow. And it's just amazing to see the impact because of amazing partners like you. And I just want to say thank you on behalf of Convoy. Thank you for your incredible generosity. And I want to take us to a story today in John chapter 6. A lot of you know it. It's the story of the feeding of the 5,000. But I want to read this passage, and then we're going to unpack it a little bit. In John chapter 6, verse 1, it says, "After this, Jesus crossed over to the far side of the Sea of Galilee, also known as the Sea of Tiberias. A huge crowd kept following him wherever he went because they saw his miraculous signs as he healed the sick. Then Jesus climbed a hillside and sat down with his disciples around him. It was nearly time for the Jewish Passover celebration. And Jesus soon saw a huge crowd of people coming to look for him. And turning to Philip, he asked, 'Where can we buy bread to feed all these people?' He was testing Philip, for he already knew what he was going to do. And Philip replied, 'Even if we worked for months, we wouldn't have enough money to feed them.' And then Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up. 'There's a young boy here with 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. But what good is that with this huge crowd?' 'Tell everyone to sit down,' Jesus said. And so they all sat down on the grassy slopes. And the men alone numbered about 5,000. Then Jesus took the loaves, he gave thanks to God, and then distributed them to the people. Afterward, he did the same with the fish, and they all ate as much as they wanted." What if I told you that one day of your life could transform someone's every day? Now think about that. That's a big statement. Just one day of your life could radically change the trajectory of someone else's future. Not only now, but for generations to come and also for eternity. That's why we're here today. One day to feed the world. It's our opportunity to take our annual salary, whatever that is, whether you work at Starbucks, whether you work at McDonald's, whether you're the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. It's our opportunity for all of us to participate, to take our annual salary and divide it by 365 days and to say, you know what, I'm going to take one day and I'm going to make a radical difference in someone else's life. That's why we're here today. And that's John chapter 6. That's this story. And I love this story, because it's a story about a little boy. We really don't know his name. I think it's interesting. We don't know his name, but yet we're still talking about him thousands of years later. And this was such a big deal in the Gospels that it's told in all four Gospels. It's the only story that's told all four times because it had such an incredible impact. And so you have this little boy, I don't know, maybe 10 years old. And if you can just dream with me a little bit, here's this little boy. He grows up, in a Galilean village, maybe this little hut, and he's getting ready to go out for the day. He's going to go out and play with some buddies and some friends, and, maybe he's getting ready to leave in the morning. I just remember back when I was a kid, do you guys ever remember if you're like in my age bracket, I grew up in Miami, Florida. I ran the streets of Miami. And my parents had no idea where I was. I would leave the house at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I came back when the street light turned on, outside the house. They had no idea where I was. It was just a different time, different season, but I just remember running the streets of Miami with my buddies, and I can see this little, 10-year-old kid. He's going out, he's going to hang out with his buddies. He's going to hang out with his friends for the day. And on his way out, his mom hands him this little lunch sack, and inside that lunch sack is just 5 crackers and a couple of sardines. Not a big lunch. Just a small little lunch. Just something to make sure he was taken care of for the day. And so he grabs the lunch and he goes out and I can see him outside playing and, maybe hanging out with his friends and all that. But off in the distance, he sees a big crowd that's kind of moving. And they're moving, and thousands of people, and they're all moving, and they're following this one guy, and they arrive at this kind of, mountainside where he comes up and he hears this man named Jesus. He had heard about him in the community. He had heard a little bit about him, that he had performed miracles and was a teacher, and so he sits down and begins to listen. The day goes on, and everybody's just mesmerized by the teachings of Jesus. But as it gets later in the day, they begin to realize, hey, we've got a problem because, we've got thousands of people here, potentially up to 15,000 people that were there. We got thousands and thousands of people here, and there's no food trucks anywhere around. There's nowhere for these people to go. And I love in another verse, I think it's in Matthew, I think it's in Matthew's account that Jesus actually looks and says, hey, why don't you guys feed them? You feed them. They're like, Lord, there's no way possible. We don't have that much money. There's no Costco. We can't buy any food in bulk around here. We don't know what to do. And then all of a sudden, Andrew's over and he says, hold on. There's this little boy. He's got this little sack lunch, but it really doesn't mean anything. But in that moment, that one moment, everything was about to change in the life of this little boy. A little boy that many would have looked at as small and insignificant. His mom actually packed a lunch that day, and she had no idea what she really packed was a miracle. Can I tell you that for some of you are waiting for God to do a miracle, and it's already in your house. You already have it in your house. You just don't even know it yet. The miracle's already been packed. You're seeking God for it, and he's like, no, it's already in your possession. You've already got it. And so they look at him, and in this one little exchange, hey boy, can Jesus have your lunch? Can Jesus have your, what do you say when Jesus asks you for your lunch? And that's what one day is today. Jesus is asking us for our lunch. He's asking us to give our one day, to take what we have and give it to him. And so they look at the boy. Here's this little 10-year-old kid. He's like, he could have done anything. He's young, immature, small, insignificant. And he could have, what is this going to matter in this big crowd? But in this one moment, something happens, and he says this. He says, yes. The miracle didn't happen in the hands of Jesus. The miracle started with yes. It started with yes. And just for a moment, can I just talk about the power of yes in our lives? The power of yes. And our one day, when we're talking about one day, our one day says yes to compassion. When he said yes in that moment, he didn't even realize what he was saying yes to. Do you know that when Jesus asks us for something, we don't have to pray about it? Oh, I know it's the church people. Y'all are going to get really quiet right now when I talk about this. Because sometimes, like Pastor John or other leaders, they'll ask you things like, hey, would you be willing to do A, B, and C or serve, in this capacity? Let's go, let me pray about it. There are some things that you don't have to pray about. The answer is just yes. When Jesus asks you for something, the answer isn't, well, Jesus, let me pray to you about what you're asking me about. The answer is just yes. He just says yes. And he didn't realize what he was doing is he was saying yes to compassion. Because Jesus saw the crowd, he had massive compassion on them. And I even love in Matthew chapter 9, it says Jesus saw the crowd. And when he saw the crowd, he was moved with compassion. Jesus saw, I love these words, Jesus saw the crowd. See, compassion starts with seeing. It starts with seeing. And I just wonder if times we just get blinders on our eyes or we lose focus to everything that's happening around us. And we just miss the opportunity to be compassionate. I have 4 grandkids. And they're two of them are 7 years old. They're both girls. They're cousins. And then my little guy, he's 6 years old. And then I've got a little guy who's a year old. So 2 girls, 2 boys. And my one little granddaughter, who's 7, she's my mini-me. Her name's Revy. And when I say she's my mini-me, she's like my mini-me. She would be standing here on the platform with me right now if she could. She would be walking, pacing back and forth she would be sitting with me. She goes everywhere with me. She's with me all the time. And so she's real fascinated with Washington, D.C., so I recently took her on a trip. We went for 2 days, rode scooters all through the city, went to all the museums, and she wanted to see the White House and the, Washington Monument and all those different things. But we were sitting on a bench, and I started talking to her because she's at that age where she's like asking me questions because she just knows like, why is Pop on another airplane? Like she's always frustrated that I'm leaving or going somewhere or traveling. And so I started talking to her a little bit about what Pop does. And I said, Revy, Pop helps feed kids around the world. She was like, what? She just could not process it. And she even looked at me, she's like, well, can't they go to the Cheesecake Factory? What? And then she's still thinking, she's like, well, what? Can't their mom take them to Chick-fil-A? She doesn't call it Chick-fil-A, it's Chick-fil-A. Why can't they just go to Chick-fil-A? I'm like, Revy, you don't understand. There are kids that are waking up every single day in the world who don't have any food. And she's just like, it's just blowing her mind. And so then it opened up the door to start talking to her about homelessness and poverty. And so for the rest of that trip, we're riding around on scooters in the city, and she's like, Pop, there's another homeless man. We need to give him money. Hey, Pop, they need some money. They need some money. But what I loved about it is just all of a sudden, in the childlike faith, it was just like her eyes were open to compassion. God help me. Because there are times in my life where my heart gets a little calloused. I don't know about you. And I've learned you can't be a big Christian with a small heart. And there are times that my heart just gets a little bit calloused. And I just lose the ability to see and have the eyes of compassion like Jesus. One day, our opportunity today to just say, one day, I'm going to take one day of my life. It helps us say yes to compassion. To be compassionate. Even the disciples, you know what they saw? They saw obstacle where Jesus saw opportunity. And the second thing that our one day does is one day says yes to surrender. When we talk about surrender, surrender is a choice. Surrender is not a feeling. It's a choice we make. Here's this little boy. He had the opportunity. He could do anything with his lunch that he wanted to. He could do anything. But he chose surrender. He could have held on to it. He could have said, hey, this isn't going to help anybody else. This is small and insignificant. I'm small, I'm insignificant. My lunch is small, it's insignificant. It's not going to make any big deal. And some of you may be here today, and even in your life, even beyond generosity, even beyond giving, you may be saying to yourself, hey, I just feel kind of small and insignificant. And this is as much a message about you and how God views you and how he sees you. God does not view you and see you as small and insignificant. He's just simply saying, what do you have? What do you have? What will you be willing to surrender? What are you willing to give? And see, here's the thing. When Jesus is asking us for our lunch, here are the options. We can hold it or God can multiply it, but not both. God can't multiply what you're not willing to release. I've been in full-time ministry more than 30 years and pastored for more than 30 years. And I've watched the cycle of people in their faith journey sometimes, especially when they're needing miracles. It's almost as if it's like I'm seeking the miracle, and we seek Jesus for the miracle on an external level. And the reality is he's saying, what do you have at your disposal? The miracle starts with you in surrender. This is better preaching than y'all are letting on right now. Come on now. It starts with you. It starts with your surrender, your willingness to let go. The miracle didn't happen in Jesus' hand. It happened when the little boy let go. It happened when he let go. I take you back, man. Beginning of my ministry journey, back in 1992. It was right in that time frame. I was a young youth pastor. My wife and I, we were youth pastoring in Kansas City, Missouri. Had a great church, but we were broke. I mean, we were like broke. And we had 2 kids, and we were working at this church. And I remember going to a mission service. It was on a Sunday night. And so we get to the mission service, and we're inside the service, and the missionaries, I can't even remember who the missionary was, but they're preaching, they're teaching, and I can feel God's doing something in my heart. Like there's a stir taking place. And we get to the end, and it's kind of like today, there's a challenge to give, a challenge of generosity, a challenge to release, a challenge to let go. And I'm sitting there next to my wife, and again, I'm like a young man. I'm sitting there, and I hear the Lord say, I want you to give $1,000. I want you to give $1,000. Let me pause there, take a time out, and rewind a little bit and tell you our true condition of where we were. When I say we were broke, like we had mac and cheese in the cabinets. We were broke. I have so many stories of God's faithfulness and coming through. Like in the midst of our poverty. We had one time that we were sitting in, we literally had a couple of boxes of macaroni and cheese, and we got a knock on our door, and it was some elders from our church that said, hey, we don't want to embarrass you guys, but we just have about 4 bags of groceries that we wanted to bring to you. I got story after story like that, but we were sitting in that service, and God says, give $1,000, and I'm like, hold on, time out. And so we had, when I talk about our poverty, like we had one of those cars. I don't know, like I'm in my 50s now, and I don't know if you're in my world, but we had one of those cars. And when I talk about one of those cars, some of you guys will know what I'm talking about. Like younger people, they don't know about those cars. Y'all don't know about those cars. Anybody have one of those cars come on. And you know what I'm talking about? It's the kind of car that when you pull up, you put it in park, and you turn the ignition, you turn the car off, you take the key out of the ignition, and the car still runs. How many of you have one of those cars? Come on, it's one of those cars that, man, we would get up, and the kids, we had no air conditioning in the car. And the kids, our poor kids, I mean, oh man, it was horrible. I mean, they're sweating. It's the middle of summer in Kansas City, and our poor kids are just sweating and sweat pouring down their little toddler faces. And, my wife and I've got big sweat stains all around my armpit getting ready to go into church. And it's just so brutally hot. It's in the hundreds. And I got this car, and I turn it off, and it's just, bah, 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 And the whole time it's doing that, the car's off. Come on now. The car is off. The key is in my pocket. And the whole time we're taking the kids out of the car seat. My wife's getting my daughter. I'm getting my son. We're walking down the sidewalk. We get ready to walk in the door, taking them to children's church. We open the door. Smoke pours out of the hood. We were so humiliated, we would park all the way down at the very end. And so we got to that point, and so anyway, I'm sitting there, and the Lord says, I want you to give $1,000. I'm like, Lord, and here's the thing. Like, we were trying to save $5,000 to get a new car. Does that tell you that kind of car we had? Like, we were trying to save $5,000 to get a new car, a new used car. And we had saved $1,000. And I sat there, and the Lord said, Ed, I want to give $1,000. My immediate response, I'm being as transparent as I can be right now. My immediate response was, get thee behind me, Satan. That is not God speaking, because $1,000 is all I have. And it kept nudging, and I just couldn't get it out of me. I said, God, that's all I have. He said, it's okay. That's all I'm asking you for. I remember reluctantly writing that check for $1,000. It was so, people are like, oh, give till it feels good. It did not feel good. Sometimes you do things not because it feels good, but because it's obedience. Man, I would love to preach on that. It didn't feel great, but we did it out of obedience. And amazing story, several weeks later, we had another relative that called and said, hey, I know you guys are struggling with your car. I'm sending you $7,000. I want to bless you, help you with the car. It's an amazing, that all is great. I mean, that's a great reason to clap and celebrate. And man, God came through. But here's the bigger miracle in it. When I gave that $1,000 more than 30 years ago, let's say 33 years ago, when that happened, something happened in my life and something happened in our marriage between Christy and I that took us on a journey of generosity. And we've never been the same. We have never been the same. Over the last 3 decades, we have looked for opportunities, even when we didn't have anything, of ways to be generous. And now we live completely debt-free. Completely. I don't owe anybody anything. On houses, car, like zero. I have no debt in my life whatsoever. And I look back, it's not because I'm some brilliant finance guy, it's not any of. I go back, and it's just living a generous life. It was because in a critical moment of my life, I decided to say yes. I decided to say yes to generosity. We have that opportunity today to say yes. To say yes to surrender, and then finally, one day, says yes to impact. Impact starts small, but it never stays small. This little boy had no clue. He gave his lunch, this one little lunch. It's like a little, what are they called? Snackables? Lunchables. That's what it was. He had a little Lunchable. And that little Lunchable fed thousands. And that's what happens. God takes what we have, and when we say yes, God multiplies our yeses. And in this story, we make it about the feeding of the 5,000, but it was so much more than that. Because this story really isn't just about feeding the people, it's about revealing Jesus. And that's why I love Convoy of Hope. I don't know if I shared it, we're out of 1.6 million charities in the U.S., out of 1.6 million charities, Convoy, according to Forbes, we're the 27th largest in the U.S. Convoy has grown exponentially. People say, are you a humanitarian organization? No, we're a compassion movement. We're a compassion movement. We don't just pull trucks up and drop food off and, here you go, see you next week. There's a complete strategy, because the food part and the feeding part and the women's empowerment part and the agriculture part and the meeting people in disaster moments, all of those things are simply for the primary purpose of helping people see Jesus. helping them see Jesus. So our yes helps people see Jesus. Last year, I went on a trip to Africa. I was right outside of Kenya. And I went to one of our children's feeding programs and one of our children's feeding centers. And I pulled in, and when I pulled in, there were just like hundreds of kids that were welcoming us. And I'll tell you about this picture here in just a second. But there were like hundreds of kids that were waiting for us. Man, they're cheering and celebrating, and we're coming in and all of that. And I mean, it was just very, very moving. But I remember one of the things that I thought when I saw hundreds of kids there, I thought to myself, this is only one of 2,600 of these that we have. One of 2,600. And I'm just at one. But there's hundreds of, they're celebrating. They're walking with me, and we're talking, and they're laughing, and they're wanting to touch my tattoo, and they're like tracing it with their fingers. And there's one little girl that walked with me the whole 2 hours that we were there. She everywhere that we went. She just stayed glued to me the whole time. And I sat down. The kids wanted me to come over, and I was sitting down, and they saw the camera, and they wanted to take pictures. I mean, just look at their faces. So we take the picture, and I love the celebration of it, but can I tell you, I love this picture, but it's also a heartbreaking picture for me. Because there's something that you can't see in this picture. And it's what's behind the wall. Because behind the wall are, in this feeding program, in this children's feeding center, there are hundreds and hundreds of kids that are waiting to come inside the wall. Hundreds. I have a spreadsheet that gets updated on a regular basis that they send me of kids that are waiting to get into our programs. And right now, when I just got the recent spreadsheet, there are 557,000 kids, more than 500,000 kids that are just waiting to get into our programs. I was at a church sharing this story, and not long ago, and this mother came up to me out in the lobby, and a little girl was standing. She said, "Hey, my little girl wants to ask you a question." I was like, "Sure." And the little girl looks at me, and maybe she's 7 or 8 years old, 9 years old, and she said, "Excuse me, sir." She said, can you tell me why can't the kids just come inside the wall? Why can't they just come in?" And I said, "It's just because they're waiting for someone to say yes. Someone to say yes. They're waiting on Gateway Fellowship to just say yes. They're waiting on this service just to say yes. To make a difference and to make an impact." That's what One Day to Feed the World does. It takes our yeses today, and God multiplies it. God multiplies our yes today. Not just right now, but I said it for generations to come, for eternity. Your yes today, your one sacrificial yes of saying, I can take one day. That one day of your life this year will transform someone's every day. I want you to see this story. It's a young man by the name of Joseph who came up through one of our children's feeding programs. An incredible, incredible story of impact and of life change and transformation. Watch this with me.
When we're playing football, we'll just start playing, we'll play a little while, then we'll tell them, let's rest. Nowadays, I get tired pretty quickly. I live with my mom, auntie, and uncle, and my 2 sisters. We don't eat sometimes in the morning. I would find I'm going to school without anything to eat. Reading would be hard. Thinking about eating, it hurts pretty bad. I was even asking myself in my mind, like, why are we staying this way? Why are we eating this? I feel sorry for my mom trying to find food for us. It makes me feel like wanting to grow up pretty fast so that I can help my mom. Yeah.
I was married with my husband. We used to live a happy life. But after we had kids, he started misbehaving, beating me, beating the kids. My husband said that if you can't manage keeping these kids, just throw them or take them to orphanage.
My mom said that we can't be living with a person like that. He's not doing anything. My mom would have to be the one who's struggling to find money for us to eat, to find shelter, clothes, school. Most of the times, if I think about it, just makes me feel something else in my mind, pretty angry. All I know is that I'll concentrate on school, then when I grow up, I'll just be the opposite of him.
I can't lie, I'm not managing enough for the kids because, I need to pay the rentals, I need to look after some groceries, but I can't manage.
We found out that every time we come to school, we would get some food. We wouldn't even want to stop going to school because we know at school we are going to find food, we are going to eat, we are going to be healthy. The food is very delicious because I even thank the people who are cooking it. If it wasn't for their cooking or what we eat, I wouldn't be even healthier. Yeah, my studies have gotten better. I know if I do concentrate on school, I will help my mom.
I need them to finish their education, have a better job, and have a good life. Yeah, it's giving me hope. I don't want my kids to pass through what I'm passing through, but I'm proud of them. I'm telling you, I'm proud of them.
I want to be a businessman. Yeah, working in a company or that, and owning my own company. Building a house for my mom, helping everyone. Yeah, like you are helping us. I also pray to help others as well, following your footsteps.
When it's tempting to hold on, our yes on one day is going to make a big impact. I love this story. I love this message. Thank you. Because it's the story of the Lord, and generosity is a value that our church has always held on to. 17 years ago, there was a small group, including the Flex, here on the third row, who said yes, just going all in to start this church. And because of your yes, God has made a difference. Our very first Sunday at Bob Beard Elementary School, one of my spiritual grandfathers and grandmothers, Tom and Connie Crick, said yes to blessing our very first offering. Instead of holding it for ourselves, we gave it away to start a church on the island of Zanzibar off the coast of Tanzania because of the yes. Remember saying yes to our small group, and a couple of years ago it was Tate, single dad, brought his girls not just every Sunday an hour away from their home to this church, but an hour to youth ministry, hour to small group. And when it was easy to hold on to Tate, because he's got a big personality, he's a lot of fun, he said, yes, I can go and make disciples. And he became a small group leader because of the power of his yes. The power of the yes. And so here we have this moment. And when it's so tempting to say, hey, someone else can give, if we all collectively say yes, we're going to make a big difference today. It's the power of the yes. And when I was thinking about this, it's part of our church, yet we make disciples, and some of our small group leaders said yes to starting churches. We do this. Generosity is because our God is a Father who's generous, who gave us his Son because he loved us so much. And so we are his children, and may we say yes to give. So it happens real easily. First, you just take out your phone and you look at your calculator, right? You divide that salary by 365, and then the moment comes where we say yes. And you can give in one of two ways, either with the offering envelope that was given to you when you walked in. You can put that in there. Or if you want to give online at mygateway.tv/KB, you can give online. But if you give online, would you still put that amount on the offering envelope? And let's together, through our yes, make a great impact.
Yeah, thank you, Pastor John. I heard something that he said a couple moments ago that grabbed me, and I've watched this video a dozen times. When he said, the way you've helped us, I'm going to help others. that there is a ripple effect to what's happening here today. It's not just a one and done. There's a ripple effect to what's taking place. And again, thank you for your leadership here and the compassion of Gateway Fellowship, and to every single one of you for your participation and for making it truly an eternal impact.
Thank you, Father, for your generosity towards us, how great your love is towards us, that you've given us so many gifts and blessings. And may we now be a blessing to the least of these who are hungry right now, that we're going to meet a physical need and open up the door to sharing the good news, the gospel. And may souls be won to you, and may disciples be made because of the yes that we're making together. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. God bless you as you give.